What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I'm your host, Louis Ezekiel. Gentle listener, it is nice to be in touch with you again. It's been a while, I think, before the Olympic break, since we have had the chance to spend some time together. Lots of interesting new news, just to update you on all of the excitement that has happened since the big Sunday show, wanted to include the Joel Hofer shutout on Sunday did get Elon that victory that he was so concerned about by, I think, 1 point. So way to go, Joel Hofer, for bailing out Elon. I am engaged in a big-time match to try to sneak into that last playoff spot, so we'll see how things go. Lots of interesting news here that was both positive and not so positive for my team, but I won't bore you with the details because we have lots to cover. So let's get right into it. And kind of the theme of the show here seems to be some players thriving in new roles. I want to especially highlight Alexis Lafreniere, Scott Laughton, Connor Garland, but some other players who are coming along for the ride with them as well. So let's head over to New York. And we will start with Alexis Lafreniere, who has just been enjoying the heck out of Artemi Panarin's absence and obviously the subsequent trade over to LA. Since Panarin has been held out starting on January 28th, a period of 11 games and obviously post-trade as well, Lafreniere now has 8 goals, 5 assists, 27 shots, including 3 points on the power play, where he's been seeing the majority of power play time on ice in every game but one. Big news for Lafreniere. Might impact his rank next year. Can't imagine that he is available, but really interesting and fun to see him really picking things up and stepping into a new role with Artemi Panarin moved on. This has been a nice boost for Mika Zibanejad as well, who has 4 goals and 5 assists in that same span. And Gabe Perreault has been on that top power play the last 4 games as well, racking up half his goals and assists on the season. So 3 of his 6 goals, 4 of his 9 assists have come over those last 4 games. He's had minutes in the upper teens most nights, only 2% owned on Yahoo. Has that great Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday schedule for next week. So keep an eye on Gabe Perreault. That spot could be threatened if JT Miller makes a return. He was struck in the head by a puck and has been on IR ever since. But until we get news on when that might be, Perreault could be a really interesting option for you. Another guy who has been continuing to score over in New York has been Vlad Gavrikov, despite Fox's return. So he's kind of been like a Darren Radish light. He hasn't held the top power play from Fox the way that Radish has from Hedman, but he has continued to score despite that lack of power play deployment. He did go scoreless in Tuesday's game, but that broke a 3-goal, 3-assist streak over the previous 5 games. Those goals did come on just 9 shots, so we obviously don't expect Gavrikov to be shooting 33% for any extended period of time. But, he certainly can score in these bursts, and he shares that same great schedule, so should be a guy that you consider for next week if you can fit some defenders in, or if you think you would benefit just from getting some bonus games. Touching on one more player also affected by this trade was obviously Panarin himself. He's been successful in his new role with 2 goals and 6 assists since joining the Kings. Big power play minutes and shots, although he also did not factor into the scoring during Tuesday's 2-1 overtime loss to the Bruins. But yeah, he's been making his adjustment just fine. So if you were worried about, obviously him sitting out was not beneficial for your fantasy team, but he seems to have landed in stride. And you'd honestly expect maybe a few more goals there, given how much he's shooting. Another staying with the Kings, we could also mention Scott Laughton, or Scotty Tulati, who has been lined up with Jarrett Wright and Alex Turcotte and getting power play 2 time in Los Angeles. Nevertheless, 2 goals and 1 assist in 3 games in LA with decent minutes in the mid-teens, but he is pretty low on my list of potential ad interest. His deployment hasn't changed that significantly in this move, and so I don't feel like he is going to be especially more useful. Obviously, it's nice to have this little outburst, but I imagine that's the best rate we're going to see for him, I would imagine, for the remainder of the season. Another team with some pretty interesting players worth discussing is Columbus. We'll start with Connor Garland. And I got another guy who I had saved for a hot streak, but I think we'll add him up here as well. So Garland, since he came over from Vancouver, has been playing great, although his minutes have been very low, even considering he's line 2, power play 2, but we're talking not even in the teens for most games. However, he has managed to score 4 goals over the last 2 games on 10 shots. If he breaks into power play 1, maybe I can be interested at that total time on ice. But I don't think I would be interested in him before, despite this exciting little outburst here. It is possible that maybe he gets a look up there, but I wouldn't count on it. And so even though he has been scoring at an outrageous rate lately and seems to be really thriving in Columbus, I think this is a guy that I would probably avoid running to go and grab unless it seemed like, maybe you have an injury replacement or something like that and you need someone who is performing well. I'd actually prefer to have the guy on his team who is on a nice little hot streak, although if he is available, not so sure. Charlie Coyle has just really continued to see a ton of success, 6 goals and 15 assists in the last 14 games. Of course, that includes the hat trick plus an assist versus Chicago in late January. His more recent streak is still pretty good, though. 1 goal and 8 assists over the last 7 games. And I feel like we could see a bounce back in his shooting luck. That goal is the only one of his last 23 shots to go in. Seeing tons of ice time, upper teens and 20s. And his ownership has been steadily rising. It's now up to 48% on Yahoo, which this time of year is probably closer to 75% of active leagues. But that is a guy I would be interested in going out and grabbing. It's not that I haven't been impressed with Garland's early returns. It's just that I would much rather have the guy playing 19, 20 minutes a night rather than the guy playing 11 and 12, even if the 11 and 12 guy is converting more of his shots right now, which might be worth more points. We've been seeing that steady Charlie Coyle contribution. And the shots, again, have been really good. Probably could have seen 1 or 2 more go in over this little streak that he's been on. So with that update on a few players really thriving in new roles and some other players that they're affecting out of the way, we'll take a short little break here. On the other side, we'll come through with some injuries and oucheries, as well as some hot and cold streaks to discuss. You're listening to Short Shifts.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you the options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm taking a look at the odds right now. I like looking at the awards. See the Norris odds there? It's basically Cale Makar and Zach Werenski, both the overwhelming favorites. Quinn Hughes is the next up. Pretty high odds. Quinn Hughes, I think, is pretty good. Maybe he has a shot. But hey, that's up for you to decide over at DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-777777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved.
Welcome back to Short Shifts. We've got quite a bit of injury news, and I think the top line item by the time you're hearing this will likely be what happened to Connor Ingram. He had a collision with Nathan MacKinnon, and the goalie left the game to be replaced by Tristan Jarry. That game is still in progress at time of recording, but it did get tied up 3-3, so Ingram is no longer the goalie of record in that game. we won't know probably any update until later tonight. And imagine they'll be looking at trying to figure out what is really wrong. So in the near term, it does seem like Jarry will be getting the bulk of the starts moving forward, but watch game day tweets for updates on Ingram's status. Jarry hasn't had a quality start in the last 9 appearances since he shut out Vancouver in mid-January. So if you are looking to grab him, I would probably grab him only for saves and the shot at some wins. I would not be probably looking for him to save my rates. Anything can happen, obviously, but he has been really struggling lately to produce those quality starts. We also got some injury updates from the Red Wings. Andrew Copp left the game on Tuesday, and McLeod said he is doubtful for Thursday. It looks like that injury is to his left leg. They now think that Larkin is probably doubtful for the rest of the road trip with the injury that he sustained last week. So this led to Kasper playing between Raymond and Finney, Comfer with Kane and DeBrincat. James Van Riemsdyk saw time on the top power play, but not so much that I think he's worth a look when he's getting under 10 minutes most nights. I might have some interest in Kasper and Comfer, but again, this is a tough week to stream those guys in. We also learned a little bit more about Shane Gostisbehere's injury from Coach Brind'Amour. During a pregame interview, Brind'Amour said, "I'm not sure it's going to be an extended period of time, but it doesn't look like he'll be in tonight or possibly the next couple of games. Not good news there." In the meantime, Alexander Nikishin has had 2 goals and an assist in the last 2 games and saw his minutes tick up to almost 20 Tuesday versus Pitt. So that's a good thing to have for him. He, tends to be more in the mid-teens, which is not great for a defenseman. The schedule also is no good, but he might be worth an add if you're rostering a defensive dud and need to swing for a win. If those winger options maybe aren't so interesting, maybe you've got an open defense slot one of the busy days. It could be worth an add just because he's been in a good spot and he has been producing there. And it looks like he'll be in there for at least the next couple games. So I would say 2 more, based on what Brind'Amour had to say, and we'll see beyond that. Another good one to keep an eye out for on game day tweets, as always. Robert Thomas is unwell. He's not crazy. He's just a little impaired in the right hand. If you're in a Cats league that counts faceoffs, you might have noticed that Robert Thomas did not win a faceoff on Tuesday. He only attempted 1 and then took that right hand injury and was replaced at the dot by Jimmy Snuggerud and Hallway. After the game, Coach Monty said that Thomas has an upper body injury that he can play with. Again, based on that replay, probably to that right hand. Thomas has been on a heater with 12 points in the last 7 games and still dished out 2 assists despite the injury. So hopefully his run won't be interrupted. Another guy I was saving for the hot streak, but might as well get to now since we brought him up. Jimmy Snuggerud is probably our pause the podcast guy, in my opinion. We haven't seen a ton change for him in terms of his deployment, but he has been on a big time streak since the deadline. Over the last 3 games, he's scored 3 goals. He's got 4 assists, taken 13 shots. And that includes a huge 1 goal, 2 assist, 8 shot game Tuesday night in an overtime loss to the Islanders. He's only 9% rostered on Yahoo, but I would expect that number to change, especially with a Thursday, Friday back-to-back coming up. This might be your last chance to jump on him. If your league mates haven't already noticed him, they're going to notice soon. So a guy who I think I would be jumping on. There's not a ton to play for in St. Louis for the remainder of the season, but it's a good opportunity for Snuggerud to show what he can do, getting 19 minutes a night. Back to some more minor injury and out of the lineup type issues. Cole Caufield spent some time on the bench during a 3-1 win versus Toronto. He's under the weather, feeling ill. He will travel to Ottawa. He kind of was in and out at different times. Just keep an eye out. Obviously, a benefit to all of the players on Montreal when Caufield is in, especially, his line mates. Slavkovsky and Suzuki. That trio has been really great lately. It's a boost for the goalies too. So you're going to be less confident in whatever goalies you're starting if Caufield spends time out of the lineup. But hopefully he will get his fluids and will be right back into things against Ottawa. And then we did have a few immigration updates. The Sabres have their visas, so Pearson, Luke Shen, and Logan Stanley are eligible to play and may be able to get into the lineup soon. Still waiting on Bobby McMann. We have yet to have our McMann and McCann lineup in Seattle. But hopefully that will be soon, and we'll see if McMann can kind of do some Eli Tolvanen type stuff, maybe even lining up opposite of Tolvanen. It could be interesting to see. All right, and I've got a couple hot and cold streaks to round out the show. We're going to head back to Buffalo for some hot and colds. Josh Norris is cold right now. He has had a respectable 6 points in 8 games since returning from his most recent injury. But I think relatively speaking, we can say that he's in a cold streak based on how the rest of the team is playing. Norris has been enigmatic all season long, obviously, with the excellent chemistry shown in the preseason with Thompson, the immediate injury that cost him his even strength spot, some good power play participation at times, and some empty net scoring to keep his numbers decent. And he's playing for a team that's winning and scoring like crazy, but it's pretty concerning that Norris couldn't factor into any of the 14 goals they scored over the last 2 games. Including a cardio session with no points scored today. Just really tough for him to, have that kind of offense and not be able to get in on it. And then to add on, just that offense is probably unsustainable. So if he's not cashing in on it now, then when is he going to have a better opportunity? Trev looked into Buffalo's recent success. He found that they were 12th in expected goals, but they were first in scoring, second in save percentage. So naturally, they were leading the league in PDO during their win streak. So yeah, again, just, Norris not getting in on any of that is worrisome. Doesn't have a great schedule for the remainder of the week. Center only player. It's tough with all the scoring that's going on around him, but I could understand letting him go. I feel like this is permission to drop. I am giving it some consideration myself. So I'll try to keep people appraised on how that ultimately goes. However, there are still some really other good options, low ownership, that are, cashing in on this great streak for the Sabres. Jason Zucker, 5 goals, 2 assists on 15 shots in the last 5 games, 9% owned on Yahoo. Again, might be an option if you maybe have an injury replacement, maybe with only Thursday, Saturday left to play. You might also, in a very deep league, look at Ryan McLeod, who has a shorthanded goal and 5 assists over his last 5 games. Just a very steady assist producer, not scoring a ton, but, an assist, a shot, a hit in a lot of games. So an interesting kind of steady production, but nothing that's going to blow you away. A low average, kind of a high floor player, I guess is what you would call it. And let's get one more hot streak done here before we leave. And over in Pittsburgh, with the absence of both Malkin with his suspension, and of course, Crosby recovering from injury, Igor Chinakhov is once again on a nice little hot streak. 2 games with 2 assists each, sandwiched around a game where he scored a power play goal. So that's 5 points on 10 shots in the last 3 games. 1 goal, 1 assist on the power play. He's on the top line with Rust and Raquel, and producing pretty well in the absence of Crosby and Malkin. Just 8% owned, so right around the Zucker line. I would pick the producing Sabre over Chinakhov, but nice to see Chinakhov in this spot. He also is maybe a little more appealing of an option because he plays Monday next week at Colorado. So he could be an option for you if you're looking for some schedule flexibility. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, please consider joining the Keeping Karlsson Patreon group at keepingkarlsson.com/patron, where super supporters receive ad-free episodes, and you can interact with Brian, Elon, the Short Shifts crew, and hundreds of other talented fantasy managers on our active Discord server. Check out GameDayTweets.com to get all the best info from X, sortable by team, searchable by player name. You can look for goalie starts. They've got all, a finely curated collection of reliable sources. Please visit that site and the other great sites we use to research our episodes at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, and Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach, and until we see you next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.